Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War. Never gets old. Yeah, Cold War was it was an interesting one for me. You know, this game came out around when next gen was starting to become a thing. Pretty revolutionary, really, this one. In a way, I feel like it kind of paved the way for the Call of Duties we've been getting. This is obviously a very rebooted series that they're doing. It's kind of like how Resident Evil's doing whatever the heck they're doing right now. Something kind of similar. Because I think with COD 2019, that was kind of the big comeback, I guess. Modern Warfare reboot. But I think this is what kind of really like took it that extra step, and some games do that. Like I think Resident Evil 7, for example, just as a comparison, it really brought back Resident Evil in a different way, different aspects, graphics, blah blah blah. Just overall presentation. But then I really think they nailed it with the remix, or the remakes, remixes, /8 Village. So I think there's always like that beginning thing, and then I don't think they really start to really figure it out until about the second installment forward. So that's kind of what this is to me, is like, I think they really nailed it down and figured it out, and what it is they're even doing, and because they're all kind of connected in a way anyways. Cold War 2019, now Vanguard and Modern Warfare 2, and I mean, you got Warzone up in there as well, I guess. Yeah, Cold War was just, I don't know, it was fun. It was an exciting time. New games are coming out, new consoles. You know, there was a lot of changes happening for the better, I guess. I wouldn't 100% say for the better, but yeah, this one was fun. I don't know. This is one of the first new games I've gotten in a while. You know, new games aren't always the easiest thing to get. We're thinking budget, time, situations, whatever it may be. Yeah. And I actually started playing this on last gen, unfortunately. Versus what it was originally really designed for was next gen. And this was kind of one of the first few things that really started the whole, like, hey, we're gonna make a game on last gen and on next gen. And it wasn't, not gonna lie, it wasn't a great experience. Like even a PS4 Pro, I played this when I played this on launch. When I played it, you know, day one, whatever, it was on last gen. Unfortunately, I was still very behind. It was not easy for me to get a next gen console at that time, and obviously it was a very similar thing for many people, but because this was basically you could almost call it a next gen launch title, really. It was one of like a few games that really kind of pushed that whole agenda. So unfortunately, I didn't have the greatest experience with it. I mean, I thought it looked great for being last gen, for it being brand new. But obviously, like, there was a lot of problems too. And you got to think this was around the time when like Godfall was coming out, controversy about that, Resident Evil 8, which worked great on last gen and next gen, Cyberpunk, which is just, you know, Cyberpunk. Not even gonna go there. So this kind of squeezed its way in, and I think it's interesting that Call of Duty got to pretty much make it into that that lineup. Because being some of the first few next gen specific games, or not exclusive really, but like that had a next gen version to it. And obviously there's been X amount since then, but like it's kind of a big deal. So I thought that was interesting how like, hey, Call of Duty. Now this was obviously around a very early time. And I can safely say that this was one of the first CODs that I probably even played. Maybe the first, now that I'm really kind of like thinking back about it. Obviously it's been a very long 3 years. It's been a very long time since a lot of this began, but yeah, so basically I had a great time because, you know, oh, Call of Duty, this is kind of exciting. Cold War, 80s. I don't know, it's kind of cool. Like the graphics did look really good even for last gen. The only thing that really took a dive in last gen was just the performance. Obviously they've had patches and updates since then, but it was bad. And I think that's what really, one of the first few things that really sparked the whole, like, you know, maybe getting new things on last gen isn't a great idea. I had a bunch of issues. It was bad. Like the game was like glitching, it was bugging. I had to like restart. I think I even had to start a new game at some point. Probably like a quarter into the way of the game, the campaign. I mean, it was a rough experience, but I don't really regret it either, because I think it really broke me into the whole, like, okay, this is kind of what we're expecting with next gen, playing on last gen, getting into the Call of Duty franchise, doing the multiplayer at all, like, because by the time I played this, I didn't even play COD 2019. So I obviously, as usual, I do things in kind of a really weird reverse way. It just happens to be that way. But I don't know, it was kind of fun. And I loved sharing the game with others. I liked that. I was proud of the fact that I was able to get a new game, and I think that's always a good feeling. Anyone can agree with that. You know, it just feels nice to like participate and be included, and as kind of a negative of an experience as it was the other what was good about it was very enjoyable. I love the atmosphere and the vibe and the time period, and because obviously this was a time right before mine, so it was like, you know, and especially like our parents, that was their time. And it's so, there's such a disconnect there, because we don't really know what it was like to be there during all that. It was a very different time, different generation. So I think more than movies, especially, because like movies, like, I think you get a feel for it, but it was like, dude, in the beginning of the game, I was already like, okay, this is cool. I'm hearing familiar music. I'm digging the lighting. The lighting was spot on. It was very what I imagine 80s was. I mean, I don't know the exact the exact year this all necessarily took place. I'm just gonna assume 80s. Maybe it was further than that. I really don't know. But that's definitely what it did feel like, is around that time. Which was interesting because I feel like we've kind of gotten a little bit of really old stuff, like 50s or 40s, in fact, like World War II, World War One. A lot of modern stuff. I think this was like a really nice middle ground for time period wise, and I think it was a good move to make. The fact that this was Call of Duty's next gen launch title, basically, it was perfect. I think they did a good job picking what time period to use, just everything. Cutscenes are cool.
You don't have to, sir.
Yeah, then a lot of innocent people are gonna die.
Why do you say that?
Sir, every time Perseus has come into play, it's shifted the balance of the Cold War. After 13 years of silence, if he's active, something big is gonna happen. Something that will affect the free world.
Yeah, very immersive, very lots of immersion. I don't know, this was interesting because I don't play a lot of games like this, and obviously at the time I don't think I've ever played anything like this before. The only insight I really had, which wasn't even much at this time, I kind of steered away from like 80s movies for a long time. RoboCop, Terminator, like here and there, but like I didn't prefer to go out of my way really. But it was kind of before and after this game really, but like I don't know, I think you start to like respect that time a little bit more and have a little bit more appreciation for the culture that came before mine. I mean, it was very different, and there's still always going to be that disconnect, but it's stuff like this that really gives you that insight on what happened before you and what took place during that time and how were things like. And I love when games can really do that for you. The only other one I can think of that can give me that similar kind of hook is like Yakuza, for example. They cover all the 80s, 90s, I think 70s even, 2000s obviously. So that was it's funny because like I'm talking about Call of Duty and military and guns, but the only thing I liked about it was literally like it was just in a cool, weird, different little time. I don't know. It's probably the most I got out of it, which is funny. Other than that, it's like, you know, you got your guns, you got your, I don't know. But aside from the atmosphere and the vibe and kind of the basics, I mean, at least with the story, it's about as Call of Duty as you can get. It was wild, very trippy. Kind of got a little out of hand towards about the end. I think I liked it up until about the middle or so, and it just got weird. I wasn't expecting it. I was very unfamiliar with this franchise and the kind of twists and turns that they do and the plot twists, and I mean, it wasn't until shortly after where I realized like, okay, this is kind of just what they do anyway. But yeah, it was very Black Ops, it was very Cold War, it was very tactical, it was very secretive. You know, CIA, blah blah blah, code names, and I really liked it. I thought that was, because normally I think that stuff is pretty boring, like especially in a movie. To go undercover detective, I don't know, I don't really follow it. But I think here they took something kind of lame like that and tried to make it like cool. And I don't know, for me, I see it in a different light than a lot of the CODs that I played after this, because I think this one just had a lot going for it, and I don't think I'll really look at the others quite the same. Because I want to say I played it about a couple times, and it had such an early impact on kind of the start of me doing content creation. So it's a pretty important game to me in a way. Like one that basically helped start it all and push things in some sort of direction. And so yeah, this one was important to me and really has a significant meaning to my gaming repertoire. Because it was, I don't know, it was such a interesting time to be around and especially to have started kind of taking content seriously and really kind of going for it and putting it out there. And then obviously beforehand there was a lot of like, I was kind of preparing for it really slowly. And I think this was a really nice game to have made, kind of one of those good first impressions. It's like, hey, you know what? I can put in the work. I can get the new games. It wasn't easy at the time. Really, this is a game that basically I really put myself out there with, and I don't really regret it at all. This was kind of like that push that I needed to really break in this whole Call of Duty thing that I had going on and still have going on, for that matter. I mean, at the time I was like trying to reconnect with someone, you know, before all this, from Facebook. Some girl that I kind of had a thing with, who also played Call of Duty. And this was kind of my excuse to really get back in that, like really kind of try to give that a shot. For a while there, this was the only Call of Duty game I even had for a while. This was one of the first and only games that I actually played with another viewer. A viewer. For like the first and only time, even till today. Yeah, I don't know, this game just really holds a very weird, special place to me that I can't really describe. Because between kind of everything that kind of revolved around the game, yeah. Like, I definitely wouldn't mind like coming back to it, and that's kind of what I did recently, was get another little refresher. It was actually kind of nice to get back in and play again. There's a lot of memories and nostalgia there. I wouldn't say this game did everything for me, but it definitely, you know, it's just weird because like half of my channel overall with everything is kind of was built on Call of Duty, which is very strange for me to say, because obviously like the beginning of my game selection was kind of varied. Maybe I only had certain games, maybe it took a while for me to get the games I really wanted, and Call of Duty was always just kind of there. It was always available, it was always on sale, it was always something. I mean, Call of Duty, whenever it gets the chance, it's plastered everywhere, all over the PlayStation Store, you can't really get away from it. These gaming stores are just like, get Call of Duty, buy it, play it. It's just like, all right, chill. God. I mean, I'll give Call of Duty the fact that like they really push their stuff, and I mean, hey, it works, right? Yeah, the gameplay was good.
Go, go, go! There's Kasim! Move! Kasim's head up the stairs! We need Kasim alive!
Yeah, pretty neat. I just think even the Cold War thing was fun because it's not really a war I was super familiar with. Like, I had an idea, obviously, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like I said earlier, it's kind of before my time, so it wasn't really like something during my time or like way before it. It was kind of right under it. So I don't know. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like the most popular war either. Well, that's a weird word to say, but like the most well-known war ever. But obviously, it's definitely up there, right? Yeah, it was cool. I like the characters, the gun designs, the environments, the maps, the vehicles, just buildings, everything, the weather, the effects. Just recently, actually, I tried for the first time the next gen version, which last gen, especially nowadays, it probably works fine, but obviously I'm guaranteed there's still going to be problems there somewhere. Can't nearly be as bad as it was on launch though, so there's that. But yeah, I was like, damn, even more detail, even more good graphics, and as if I didn't appreciate the game before as it was. Because the thing with like my problems that I had at the beginning was like, okay, the graphics, the like it's glitches and stuff and bugs. It wasn't so much like the game looked bad, it had problems. Which was unfortunate, but I think by the time I played it again, by the time I played it just recently again for a little bit, yeah, it definitely makes sense now why I even back then liked it as much as I did. Especially by the time I played this for the first time, replaying it recently again, like now. I've watched even more like older 80s movies and stuff. Really kind of caught up with like Predator and like I said, Terminator and just stuff like that. Big Trouble in Little China. You know, all those old horror movies and stuff. Like I really started to kind of open up to that stuff a lot more. So that's another thing, is this game really just pushed a lot of things for me. It really, I didn't really know what it was like because I never really had to like go out of my comfort zone before. I never had the need to. I mean, before this, I played games very rarely, and when I did, they were obviously games that I wanted to play, and you know, when I was a kid, I played a lot more games. When I was growing up as a teenager and a young adult, a lot of that kind of slowed down a little bit for me. And then getting even older than that, I was like, hey man, if I'm gonna let anything else new into my life, this is the time. So yeah, it worked out well in a lot of ways. It's so weird. And it just goes to show that whether it is this game or not, like, try these games out, give them a chance, go out of your way, get out of your comfort zone at least once in a while. That's kind of the whole thing I'm trying to do with this game, is because this is what the game did for me. It's not even so much like blah blah blah, it's just like, I don't know, this game taught me a lot of things that, do I hold those specific values like super close to me, like this whole whatever this game kind of did for me? Not really, but like there's some people who may have never even experienced that once, no matter how old they are, is like, what have you done really that, like, even just in a small way like this, like a video game, that's kind of made you kind of just see things differently and have more perspective and more light to shine. And I think games like this are very important to get messages like that out from, because I mean, I see patterns every day from others, and I think it can be a real shame when you don't break out, because this is what Call of Duty does for me. This is my going out of, I wouldn't say guilty pleasure, more guilty if anything, but like this is my catalyst, my way to really jump out of the boat and take a swim. So yeah, the multiplayer is good.
Semtex out.
Yep. Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War. Fun.